the first theme I want us to reflect on today, and which I'm reflecting out aloud with you, is the myth of extraordinary people. When people talk about, for even example, Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or Nikola Tesla, when we study them or when we read about their story, we really over romanticize things. It's really about the extraordinary things that happen in their life. We all came into this world, but there's a particular, we are obsessed about the particular reason why we think these people stand out, right? But we're always looking for the ones that maybe are with outside our reach. If someone asks you why you're not successful, you would give them 10 reasons, right? What you have seen in someone's life which you believe you did not have. We are over romanticizing people that we see at the pinnacle of success. People talk about history in a way that factors in the success at the beginning. I think that's the other word for it. We most times do not see the lack of confidence that the person went through. We don't see the uncertainty. We don't see the challenges. We only focus on the outcomes, not the confusion. We only focus on the impact and not on the years of obscurity. A good example I had here is, when we are all familiar, if you have internet, you probably have heard Steve Jobs story, right? Apple, almost everyone, I wouldn't say everyone, almost everyone uses an Apple device. And we've all heard about the story. And when you listen to how people tell that story, because it also matters, right? We talk about how do you change the consciousness of a society is by the stories we tell ourselves, is by our self-talk, is by our movies, is by our culture, how we pass down information in stories. When you talk about someone like Steve Jobs, and I'm using Steve Jobs because it's a popular thing that everyone would know and everyone would have probably heard the story or watched clips of the story online. You might not have heard the entire story, but you have seen a clip of the story online. People talk about him in a way that, as if he was destined to build something important, right? And history remembers his genius. He was a genius. His black turtleneck, his keynote speeches, which are viral, and everybody's talking about 10 things you can learn from him. And the myth of Apple, what he did, the iPhone, how that was groundbreaking. That is really what the story you see online it's about, and that is what is passed down from generations to generations. The persona, this person called Steve Jobs that revolutionized smartphone devices. But most times that's not the full story, right? We've heard the story of how he was fired by a company he founded, right? What that single line shows that there were seasons where his leadership was questioned, where his ideas looked, didn't make sense, right? And where the story could have ended differently, right? But because we know how this story ends, we gloss over that season of his life around, oh, he was fired, but he came back, and then everything now suddenly became successful. We gloss over that one line. We forget and we factor it in. So when we're telling the story, we say, because we already know the end that he was successful, we gloss over those seasons of pain, of obscurity, of the internal struggle he was battling with. We gloss over it. And this is what history often does. It edits out, the uncertainty, removes the confusion. It makes people look confident, right? He knew what he was doing. When he walked out, the day he was fired, that he walked out of the company, he knew what he was doing and he knew he was going to come back. Do you think he knew? Right? It makes people look confident. It makes people look destined. He was destined for it. And it makes people look extraordinary, like they were different. And it removes, and that doesn't, and those stories do not empower ordinary people. It just makes people feel that these people have extraordinary circumstances which I do not have. So I cannot attempt the feat that they've attempted. Right? So this is why I'm actually interested in the ordinary phase of leadership. Because before people become case studies and we publish our biographies and we are deemed successful, we are just ordinary human beings who are trying, failing, adjusting, staying with the problem long enough to solve it, before the world, recognizes us, right? So that is really why I'm, obsessed with that idea, because oftentimes we edit out when we listen to people's story because we know the end, we edit the struggle in between, right? So that is really why